the ultimate question in epistemology is, on what basis can we trust in the reliability of the human mind? And that's where I think intelligent design has something else really profound to contribute. Because if the mind is designed by a benevolent creator to know the world that that creator has also designed, then there's a principle of correspondence between the way the mind works and the way the world has been designed such that it can be known. And that's the ultimate guarantee. So I think in epistemology, of our ability to know. And so there's a kind of theistic design argument that underwrites the epistemological enterprise of science itself, which in some ways is the most fundamental argument for design and the one that I think makes science possible. And was something that was presupposed by all those early founders of modern science. They were not afflicted by Humean skepticism because they believed that the world had been designed by the same person who had designed their minds to know the world. And so they didn't have the problem.
They were aware of the limitations of sense perception, of the empirical pursuit. And they realized that the formal knowledge had a higher degree of certainty than material investigation did. But they also realized the only way you can go know the world, and get outside of your own mind, is through the senses.
It's through observation.
And so they were committed to the basic reliability, not the perfection, but the basic reliability of sense perception. And there's an interaction between that and the formal, like mathematics. Look how important mathematics has been to the advance of modern science. But it always drives me crazy when I hear all these debates, how little understanding of epistemology is there. How much that was assumed by earlier generations and explored deeply to say, how do we know anything?
Well, this is why
it's just jumped over.
One of the reasons I appreciate the work of David Hume so much, because he exposes the absolute dependence of the scientific endeavor on presuppositions that make no sense apart from a theistic commitment. My football player student was very impressed with this when he read Hume. Hume starts with questioning the uniformity of nature and causality in these things, and finds that he can't actually justify them on the basis of pure empiricism, that they are either something that you assume and then go forward and do science, or if you question them, then you end up in a position of skepticism. But those assumptions of the uniformity of nature, the assumption of causality, that all events have causes, are things that make sense in light of a theistic worldview. God is a God of order who makes the world in an orderly way. He makes our minds with the assumption that all events have causes and that nature is uniform, so that the assumptions that we have built into us, the Kantian synthetic a priori, are also things that are true about the world. So you get this principle of correspondence within a theistic worldview that gives us a reason to trust our minds and the things that we assume.
And makes causal thinking possible.
Exactly. It makes knowledge of the world possible.
Now, in this whole discussion of intelligent design, we know what's at stake. It is the ultimate question of theism. Because when we talk about intelligent design, we're not thinking of a UNIVAC computer that's controlled by the Wizard of Oz. But we're talking about some intelligence that is uncanny in its scope and its extent, corresponding very nicely to the biblical understanding of a God who not is only intelligent and knowledgeable, but he's omniscient. He has all knowledge. And when we see the scope of that in the investigations into the tiniest cell and so on, what does that do to your soul, Stephen?
Let me come back to the soul question in just a sec. I really do want to answer that. But let me unpack the relationship between the theory of intelligent design and these larger theological questions that arise from it. In formulating the theory of intelligent design, and I in particular, have relied on some standard methods of scientific reasoning, a principle that actually Darwin pioneered in investigating events in the remote past. He had a principle of reasoning, and that is that if you're trying to explain an event in the remote past, you should rely on our knowledge of the cause and effect structure of the world, and you should be looking for a cause which is known to have the power to produce the effect in question. Principle of sufficient or adequate reason. He got this from his mentor Charles Lyell, who put it this way. He said, in investigating the past, we should be looking for causes now in operation. When I came across that phrase in Lyell, for me, the nickel dropped, because I had gone off to Cambridge, having been exposed to some of these early pioneers in the ID movement, who thought there was an intuitive connection between information and intelligence. And I had a burning question, which was, could that intuitive connection be formulated as a rigorous scientific argument? So naturally, I began to study Darwin, and I came across this principle of reasoning that was key to his method of studying the events in the remote past. And when I got to the phrase in Lyell, when he said that we should be looking for causes now in operation, I asked myself a question. What is the cause now in operation for the production of digital information? And I realized there was only one. There's only one cause of which we know that's capable of producing information, and that's intelligence. And so I realized that by using Darwin's own principle of reasoning, I could formulate the case for design as a rigorous scientific, what's called an inference to the best explanation, where the best explanation is the one that relies on a cause that's known to produce the effect in question, and that cause is the only one that we know about.
Occam understood
Yeah,
that.
okay. So that's a scientific case for intelligent design. What does it establish? It establishes an intelligence with the causal attributes that we know from experience, that is to say, a cause which is at least as intelligent as ours. Okay? That's what you can know, as it were, scientifically, using the same methods that Darwin, Lyell, and those other scientists used. Now, that then raises some second-order questions. Who is that intelligence most likely to be? And there we go beyond the method, the scientific method of reasoning that Darwin pioneered, and we get into a realm of philosophical investigation. And what the media wants to often do is they'll say, well, listen, if you, Steve Meyer or Bill Dembski, admit that you think that the intelligence responsible for the design in life is God, therefore you're doing religion and not science. But it's actually a little more subtle than that. What we're doing is we're basing our case for intelligent design on standard methods of scientific reasoning and on scientific evidence. But the case once made has implications that go beyond the merely scientific. And so the media likes to confuse the basis of the case for intelligent design with the implications of the theory in order to stigmatize it as being merely religion. Now, that's a long preamble to your question.
Right, yes.
But now we get to where it's really interesting, which is, okay, Meyer, Dembski, Behe, who do you guys think the designer really is? Well, among the scientists who accept intelligent design, opinions do vary, not between Meyer, Dembski, and Behe. We're all Orthodox Christians. But there are advocates of intelligent design who are not Christians, who accept the evidence for intelligent design. And that makes sense, because you don't have to be a Christian or a Jew or a theist to see the compelling nature of the evidence. But having come to the conclusion that there is evidence of design, it does raise that second-order question. Now, here's the way I look at that. There are two basic possibilities. The intelligence could either be immanent and within the cosmos, or the intelligence responsible for the design we see in life could be transcendent, beyond the cosmos. I favor the latter option for a number of reasons, but I have scientific reasons that support my judgment in this. One is that in addition to the design you see in life, you also see design in the very fabric of the universe, and what physicists call the fine-tuning of the laws of physics and chemistry. Now, that's clearly not design that could be the result of the actions of any creature within the universe. That's pointing to something beyond the universe as a whole. And so when you look at the evidence of design both in biology and physics, I find that the theistic design hypothesis explains the whole ensemble of evidence or evidences better than, say, the space alien idea, which has some other intrinsic liabilities, like if you invoke, as Richard Dawkins did at the end of the film Expelled, the idea that, well, there's a space alien, and then he says, but that may have been the source of the signature of intelligence we see in life, but that alien would have had to have evolved as well. Well, if you can't get the evolutionary process going in the first place on Earth because it can't solve the information problem, kicking it to outer space doesn't solve the problem either.